Today we're going to look at Sutta SD6.11, Volume 6, Sutta number 11. So this was done very long ago, more than 10 years ago. Yeah? Now if you look at the very end of the Sutta, you find there's a long list of dates. And that shows you how many times I have revised it, studied it, That's as I understand the sutta, the words of the sutta better, then I will add in the explanation, explain the words, and so on. So this sutta, Nibbedhika Sutta, it's not very long. The words are very simple, or rather, the text is very simple. But there is one word there which is very tricky. Of course, there are some big words like Nibbedhika Pariyaya. I will explain these words in a while. Okay. Now I'll just tell you briefly the title Nibbedhika Pariyaya Sutta. Originally, the title is simply Nibbedhika Pariyaya Sutta. Now, if you see the ending, there's a ka, ika. I mean, usually it's an adjective. Okay. Nibbedhika. Nibbeda is the noun. Nibbedhika means that which penetrates. Penetrate through ignorance to see through reality. It's like you have a lot of mist and clouds all around. If you go up in the mountains, you might sometimes wake up in the morning, or you go out, you find there's mist and cloud around you, and you can't see very much, not very far. And after a while, it clears away, then you can see through, you can see the mountains. So Nibbedhika is the mind sees through and penetrating through ignorance into true reality, awakening. Nibbedhika means penetrating into true reality, the mind sees true reality. Then pariyaya, now pariyaya is a difficult word. Difficult in the sense that it is polysemic. Polysemic, it has many meanings, depending on the context. Usually, translators would render pariyaya as exposition, teaching. But it can also mean something like an interpretation, something like a way of looking at something, okay? Pariyaya. So I'm going to write an article on this word alone in due course, because the Buddha often used this word. So in this case, the different ways of looking at Nibbedhika, at what helps us to penetrate into the truth. Okay, sutta means thread of teaching, right? So you can see the translation as the discourse on the exposition on the penetrating. A 6.63, Anguttara, the book of six things, sutta number 63. Okay, you notice afterwards that there are 6 teachings, 6 sets of 6 actually. What is the theme? What is the sutta about? The noble truth as the path to spiritual insight and freedom. Actually, these 6 sets of teaching, they follow the pattern of the noble truth, right? So this teaching usually is studied with another sutta called the Upanishad Sutta, which we'll do the next round. So I will talk about Upanishad Sutta another time. Today I'll focus on this. So let's look at the sutta now. Okay, the translation itself on page 86. So further down, right, here we are. So Nibbedhika Pariyaya Sutta, the discourse on the exposition on the penetrating, or even the penetrative, if you like, A 6.63. So you can see that number 410, it refers to the Pali page in the Pali Text Society, London, the Romanized edition of the Pali page. 410. Of course, 410 is only the page number. It is in volume 3, so you can see all these details right at the top of the page, either the left page or right page. So that's just to guide a translator, or if you know Pali, you can look at that. Some of you have asked me about Pali. What you can do is, as you notice, there are Pali words that I use as I teach. So you can start from there. So look up those words, and then try to look up the Pali, and then get an exercise book. Just write down the sentences in Pali and then the translation. You should begin like that, and then slowly you find you will learn it. And I know people in Malaysia, they study Pali by themselves, and then slowly they begin to see that the connection, because Pali, as you know, is a fixed language. I mean, it's what, like they were talking about classical Chinese and modern Chinese. It's harder to learn modern Chinese because it's a living language and people can talk it in different ways. It is much easier to study classical Chinese because classical Chinese, the vocabulary is fixed. So Pali also is like that. The vocabulary is fixed. The number of words is fixed, so to speak. But the meanings of those words is another thing. You can have one word with different meanings, and today's sutta is like that. Okay, let's look at verse 1. Bhikshus, I shall teach you a dhamma exposition on that which penetrates into true reality. Okay, there you are. We know in this case the Buddha was teaching. And you will notice I have used what's called an amplified translation, amplification. So these round brackets, it's not exactly in the Pali, but I've added it in. So I've used these brackets to tell you that it's not there originally. It's understood in Pali, but not mentioned in English. So I put it in for your convenience and wisdom. Some people may ask, penetrate into what? Okay, into awakening, into true reality. The Buddha is telling the monks, telling us, get ready, Dhamma coming. Listen to it, pay careful attention, I will speak. So notice that all this background is that of communication, of lesson. And then the monks respond, yes, Bhante. The monks answered the Buddha in essence. The Blessed One said this, right? So this is the cue, meaning the teaching is coming. So here I've added in this word for you, synopsis. So you find once these words which are different size, underline and so on, is to help you get a fix on the sutta. And what bhikshus is this Dhamma exposition on penetrating insight, right? So there you are. Here you see the word insight is used. All right. Here the insight is penetrating, right? So this is the tool itself, whereas here it is what the insight penetrates into, that is through ignorance, to see true reality. Now, here you see there are 6 of this. So this is 2.1, so there'll be 2.2, 2.3, and 2.6. So the Buddha is giving the synopsis or syllabus. So this is the first one, okay? Let's look at first one. Sensual desires, bhikshus, should be known. And then you see here, Pali word, karma. Now you see here it is bowl, right? Bowl. And you see here, sensual desires, also bowl. So in my translation style, I make use of common sense. So ask yourself, where does this word come from? Or what does this word represent? Obviously this one, because they're the same. Bowl, bowl. See, black, black. Yeah? So, but here you notice it is R, long R ending. It's pronounced as R, the A with the macron. This little line at the top is called macron. Macron means something which is big, right? So here it means it makes the word karma is singular, karma plural. Actually, the exact singular also found in this sutta is kamo. Kamo is singular. Karma is plural. Here to help you, I put the word PL meaning plural. Okay. And it tells you, see note in section 3. Here this S, this double S symbol represents section in the sutta itself. Section 3 in the sutta itself. Okay, this is section 2. This is section 2.1. Okay. Now sometimes I will not use I won't mention 2.1 because it's understood this is 2.1 and this is 2.2. In this case, I purposely put 1 here because this is the first set of 6. So all these use your common sense, right? There is no fixed rule that always 1 must be here or 0 must be here. It depends on, you look at it, you will know. It's called situational method. All right, so the Buddha will give 6 things here. You see 5 of them, 2, 4, 5, and number 6 at the bottom. Sensual desires, bhikshus, should be known, right? The source that is the arising of sensual desires should be known. Here you see the Pali word, and then the only difference here is the arising. Yeah? Actually, to be exact, the source that is the arising, nidana sambhava. Nidana means links, links of the 12 links, that link, okay, nidana. And sambhava means becoming, arising, birth, okay, nidana sambhava. I have translated this way, the source, sambhava, that is the arising, nidana, okay, of sensual desire. And then, now once you look at these two, I'm sure some of you may be thinking, that sounds familiar, you know. It's like, this is like the first truth. And then arising of the sensual desire is like the second truth, the truth of arising, right? Okay, keep that in mind. The diversity of sensual desire, that means different kinds of sensual desire, should be known. You must know all these things, the Buddha is saying. Here the Pali is vematata. Okay, vemata means varied, different, diverse. The ta ending here is just like English ness. Okay? Or in this case, iti, diverse, diversity. Okay? Or diverseness, if you like. There's no such word, but just to give you an example. Okay, so ta here makes it into a abstract noun, vemata ta. So number 1, you must know what sensual desire is. Number 2, how it arises. Number 3, the different kinds of sensual desire and diversity. Number 3, the result or fruit of sensual desires should be known. Okay, vipaka, as the vikarma, result. Another word is phala. Phala means fruit or fruition. Okay? You should know the result of sensual desires. What happens when you have sensual desires? Then the cessation of sensual desires should be known. Nirodho. Actually, here I should put nirodha, no? Because nirodha is the stem word. Stem word means it's the kind of word, the spelling you use in a dictionary as the head word. Okay? Nirodho itself is already what's called inflected term. It is masculine singular. Yeah? It's just a minor detail. Cessation, ending. Cessation means ending. And then the path to the cessation of sensual desires should be known. Okay, here you have a long word. Nirodha gamini patipada. Okay. Nirodha, ending. Gamini, that which leads to or going. Patipada means path, practice. The path or the going that leads to the ending, cessation of sensual desires. There you are, you see 1, yes, sensual desire is 1, arising 2, diversity is 3, result 4, cessation 5, the path 6. That's how the sutta is classified in the A6, because there are 6 things here. Now you look at the 6 things, they're very interesting, right? You already probably noticed. First is like the first noble truth, there is suffering, right? And then there's the arising of suffering, second noble truth, right? And diversity result also can come under this category, if you like. These 3 forms one set. It's like the second noble truth expanded into 3 aspects. Yeah? The arising of suffering, also in different ways, and then there's the result, okay? And then there's the end of it, cessation. This is the third noble truth, very clear, third noble truth, right? And the fourth noble truth is the path. So there you are. This is the pattern of the four noble truths. So once you see this, say, oh yes, now I can see this pattern of four noble truth being used in this category. So here the Buddha is expanding on this teaching by using the four noble truths. You see a lot of these amazing differences each time the Buddha teaches. It's got so many ways of teaching, right? And it goes back to the basic teachings. So this 2.1 is very important. This is what you must master first. There are 5 more paragraphs like this. So this is the first one. This pattern is a template. It will be used 5 more times, right? This pattern more or less. No? All right. Okay. Now let's look at the next one. What is the next word? The next word is feelings. Okay. The keywords are all listed here. Okay. Feelings. Vedana. Right. Feelings pictures should be known. Right. Notice everything should be known. Looks very nice. Everything listed here. So this is to show you the oral tradition, how the words repeat, and then in your eye you can see it looks very nice, very systematic. Okay. So this is called the scribal tradition or reading tradition, right? So when you read it, you look at it, it looks very pleasant. Feelings, big shoes should be known. And even when you don't look here, you in your mind you already know, yes, should be known. But don't take that for granted, because the idea of repetition is so that you remember it better. The source, that is the arising of feelings, should be known. Everything's the same. Notice the diversity of feelings should be known. The result of feelings should be known. The cessation of feelings should be known. The path to the cessation of feelings should be known. Right? So here the Buddha is saying we must know what feelings are and how they arise, and then how they multiply, and then what happens if we have a lot of feelings, and how to end those negative aspects, and then actually doing it. Four Noble Truth extended to 6 points of practice. So next time you give a talk on the Four Noble Truth, you can use this pattern and explain this is one way of looking at it. And so this is only the syllabus, nothing much explained, only the subject is mentioned. 2.3, perception. Okay, there you are, the sanya. See, this is feminine. This Vedana also feminine. R ending, open vowel, long vowel. Perception, bhikshus, should be known. The source that is arising of perception, how perception arises, should be known. The diversity, different kinds of perceptions, should be known. The results of perception should be known. The cessation of perception should be known. The path to the cessation of perception should be known. By now you must be asking, what is the source? And so on, right? This is what the star is going to answer, all right? 2.4, the mental influxes, bhikshus, should be known. Asava, okay, that which flows into the senses. Mental influxes or the mental influxes. The source, that is the arising of mental influxes, should be known. The diversity of the result, cessation, the path. They all should be known. The pattern is the same. Okay. Now, number 5, 2.5. Let's go up a bit, please. Yeah. Okay, karma. Okay, this is English, by the way. Sanskrit also spelled this way. Karma, bhikshu, should be known. Pali is spelled with a double M, kamma. Okay. The Sanskrit tends to be flowery, karma. Okay. So you hear the Indians, a lot of R sounds, right? So here, kamma. It's very easy to pronounce Pali in this sense. The source, that is the arising of karma, should be known, and the diversity, result, cessation, the path, all should be known. And then the last one, number 6, 2.6, suffering bhikshus should be known. Suffering, of course, is dukkha. Dukkha. Yeah. The source, that is the arising of suffering, should be known. How does suffering arise? The diversity of suffering, the different kinds of suffering should be known. The result, what happens to you because of suffering, should be known. The cessation of suffering, how it ends, should be known. And how to end it, the path to the cessation of suffering should be known. Very systematic. You got 6 things here. Okay, 6 times 6, 36, no? Ways of understanding the Dhamma. Okay, this is the syllabus. And here you see a big number 1, brackets 1, sensual desire. So now the Buddha repeats, so this one is repeated. Okay, so notice the style again. Here I have italicized everything. In fact, I should have italicized this also. No? Sensual desire should be known, and here I only put 1 to remind you that's the word. The source of that arising of sensual desire should be known. Diversity, result, cessation path, they all should be known. So it is said, the Buddha reminds the monks. They had no notes at that time, so the Buddha is telling them, do you remember I said this? But in what connection is this said? Or what is the meaning of this? This is what we want to hear, right? Okay, now comes the explanation. Okay, first, the Buddha talks about what I call the 5 chords of sensuality. 3.2. There are these 5 chords of sensuality. Kama guna. Kama guna. Okay, this is the tricky word. Kama. Okay, notice a single M here with a long R. This pronounced R, not A, no? Because we want to remember the sound. Ka, R, Kama. Guna actually means multiply, it multiplies. Guna also can mean something like a string, a rope. So here it's translated as the chords of sensuality. Okay? So let me spend a bit of time explaining this important word first, because this is the word that has trouble, that still troubles a lot of translators. How do we translate this in this sutta? I have to think over this more than a dozen times. How shall I translate this? In what context? Which word shall I use? Because karma is polysemic, or we say it's a pregnant word, meaning it has got many meanings depending on the context. You may say, doesn't that make Pali inaccurate? Not true at all. The thing is, if a language is too exact, if you like, Chinese language is very exact. So all those Chinese characters, each character is one word. So imagine it's quite difficult to philosophize. No? Whereas the language of the West, like the Greek language, the Latin language, they're all based on alphabets. So you can put the alphabets together and then you get ideas. And then you get sounds, you get ideas. And each word can mean different things. When the word can mean different things, that means you must be aware of the word. What meaning applies where? And then you get a variety, a rich language. So here, Dhamma is polysemic. Poly means many, semic means meaning. It has got 2 or more meanings, and both of which or all of which can or may apply at the same time, although not necessarily always. No? So karma has 2 important senses. One is called kilesa karma. Kilesa karma, that means the feeling of desire that is negative, that is defiling. It makes you want more and more. Okay, it multiplies. Guna also means multiply, or it ties you up. Guna also means cord or rope. Second meaning is the object of the desire. Vatu karma. Okay, so you got kilesa karma, vatu karma. The object itself, for example, forms is mentioned here. See, forms, sounds, smell, taste, and touches. Notice, in this case, karma refers only to the physical aspect, on the bodily aspects, okay, of forms, sounds, smells, taste, touches. What we see with the eye, what we hear with the ear, what we smell with the nose, what we taste with the tongue, what the touches that we feel with the body. Now you may wonder, why does the Buddha repeat all these, the organs, the faculties? It is to remind us that we're talking about this kind of form, visual form. Sometimes the translator will translate as visual form, right? Forms cognized by the eye, forms known by the eye. Okay? Here I've used cognize to mean either perceive or conceive. Okay, but take it cognize simply as to know, if you like. Okay, so in early Buddhist psychology, the eye only sees forms. The eye doesn't hear sounds. The eye doesn't smell smells. The eye doesn't taste. The eye can feel, of course, if you get knocked, the eye get punched, you feel painful. But that is not because of the eye. That's because of the physical part of the eye. So the point here is that the eye as a faculty only sees. There's no cross sensing. Okay, the cross sensing only happens. This synesthesia only happens in the mind itself. Of course, the suttas don't say that synesthesia doesn't exist, but if it happens, it is in the mind. It's the way we imagine it. It's not the working on the sense level. Okay, it's just a technical point. If you don't understand it, later on you can look under synesthesia, and you can read up on it. Yeah? So, why are they courts of sensuality? In other words, they are objects. These forms are also objects of sensuality, and they also hold you back. They capture you. Okay? Forms cognized by the eye that are desirable, agreeable, pleasurable, lovable. Okay? All these four words actually have the same meaning. You get caught up with them. And these forms are connected with sensual desire, arousing lust. In other words, you end up wanting more and more of them, and you are caught with it, you are distracted with it, and you will not be able to do much good stuff. So this is the warning given by the Buddha. Sounds cognized by the ear that are desirable, agreeable, pleasurable, lovable, connected with sensual desire, arousing lust. This line is all the same, right? Notice everything nicely structured here. Wait, a bit more. Further down, please. Okay, just a bit more. Okay, where are we now? No, back to number. No, not feelings. Back up some more. Yeah, some more. Where were we just now? Okay, here we are. So smells cognized by the nose that are desirable and so on. Taste cognized by the tongue. Touches cognized by the body. All this, if they are something you like, something you desire, they're connected with such a desire, you keep wanting them and then get caught up with them. Okay? So these are for the 5 courts of sensual pleasures. Now, notice these 5 are body-based. There is number 6, which is thought. The 6, when we talk about the 6 senses, the 6 is thought. Okay, so this doesn't seem to be included here, but they are present behind here, so to speak, behind the form, behind the sound, behind the smell, behind the taste, behind the touches. Why? Because here you say, here you are disconnected with sensual desire. Connected is here, the mind is working. Arousing lust, arousing the mind is working. So the mind is behind this, you see. So in other words, here, what the Buddha is saying here, these 5 things, they capture our attention when they arise. When you see something nice, you get caught up with it. You hear something nice, you want to hear more, and so on. So this one is the mind getting caught up through the senses. But then when you don't see all these things, you can still imagine in your mind, the memory comes back. It also can make you have desires, and the sound will come back. You imagine it. The smells may come back. The taste may come back, and the touches, the feeling also can be imagined. So that's the sixth kind of experience, not mentioned here. Here, the Buddha is only focusing on the body. We keep the precepts to cut down on these five causes of sensual pleasure, if you like. Yeah. Okay, so this sounds simple, but these are what are causing us our suffering. Okay, now we come to this verse. I'm going to explain to you briefly first, then we come back to it after the break. Okay, so karma verse. This is the most famous in part of the sutta, and this is also mentioned elsewhere. 3.3, right? I called it the karma verse so that we can easily refer to it, because the word karma, notice karma, 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 these are different forms of karma. Okay. Bhikshus, these are not sensuous objects, karma, but in the noble discipline, in the Buddha's teaching, in the precepts, they are called the cause of sensuality. Mentioned earlier, we already looked at the cause of sensuality, karma guna, earlier, remember? So you can see some notes here. Here you see this is 9 points. This notes is put here for your convenience. That means it's important. Look it up here. It is mentioned there again, or some explanations given there. All right. Now, this word is a bit tricky. Sensuous. I didn't use the word sensual, okay? Because here, these objects, when you say something sensual, that means it makes you want it more. It looks attractive. So here, the Buddha is saying, these things, these sounds, sight, sound, smell, taste, touches, they are not sensuous in themselves, okay? They are not sensuous objects. In other words, the things that out there that you see by themselves, they're not attractive, okay? But they're said to be causes of sensuality. They're called the cause of those things that make you want them, okay? Yes, I have not explained fully yet, so just take it like that. It will be explained more fully in this verse. Okay, now since it's only 1 minute to 9, I'm going to stop here for a while before going into this important Pali Sutta. I will explain the Pali as well as the English, because it's very interesting. So I'll come back after the break.
Okay, thank you, Brother Piya. We'll take a 5 minutes break now.
All right, now we come to this famous karma verse. Sankappa rago purisasa kamo. Okay, the thought or intention of lust is a person's desire. So here, square brackets, it means this one is called alternate translation. Alternate, that means you can, if you wonder what does thought here mean, you can also have the meaning intention. Okay, sankappa. Okay, of lust, rago. Sankappa rago is a compound. Purisasa, of the person. Kamo, singular, desire. The thought of lust is a person's desire. It is the thought that is the desire. It's not the thing out there. Okay, very important psychological truth here. Nete kama yani chitrani loke. Okay, here chitrani is plural, kama also plural, right? These diverse wonders, chitrani, in the world are not sensuous. Chitra, the wonderful, beautiful things in the world, there are so many kinds, right? What you see, smell, taste, touch, and feel, the air is fresh and cool. All these are nice things. Now, in themselves, they are not sensuous. they have no special attractive quality that makes us desire them. In themselves, they don't have that. For example, some people don't like the cold, right? You look at someone, you say, oh, I like this guy. Someone else say, no, I don't like him, right? So it cannot be that object. It cannot be the sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch that actually cause people to, it appears that as if they cause people to like them, but the reality is how each of us, how our thought, the first line, the thought of lust is a person's desire. It's because of what we like. Then we look for those things out there. Very important truth, no? And then line A is repeated. Like this A, B, C, D, E. No? So it's line A, here's line C. Line C is repeated, same as line A. Sankappa rago purisasa kamo. The thought of lust is a person's desire. So the Buddha repeats this line because it's an important line. There is another sutta called the Nasanti Sutta where the same verse appears, but this third verse is missing. The meaning is the same. Tittanti chitrani tateva loke. The diverse wonders in the world remain just as they are. Those things you see in the world, they are what they are. They remain like that. They don't change. That's what they are. They are neither beautiful nor ugly. It's how you look at them. Finally, the advice the Buddha gives, or the conclusion. Atteta, atta eta, dhira means the wise. No? Vinayanti chandang ti. Ti means close quote. Hence, here, the wise remove the desire. Here brackets for them is what's called the amplified translation. There is no for them here. Okay? But in English, we just add in for you to understand it better. All right? And you can look up some more information at section 222 in the notes. So notice what the Buddha is saying here. Those things out there, they look very nice and very beautiful, but they are not desirable in themselves. It's how we look at those things. The desire is inside us. The desire is not out there. All right? So we make them, we turn them into objects of desire. It's how we think. And this is the important idea I have to remember. All right? Now the Buddha is going to use this idea and explain the rest, the cycle of sensual desire. So in each of the 6 items, there is the cycle of that particular item. 4. And what bhikshus is the source of the arising of sensual desires? Plural, kamanam, plural. So, how does this desire arise in us for those things out there? Contact, phassa bhikshus is the source that is arising of sensual desire. Here, contact here means the eye sees the form, and then we are conscious of it. There is contact, and then you feel it. You say, oh, I like this. And when you don't stop there, the feeling is there. You say, I like this feeling. And then craving arises. That's the meaning of contact here. Normally in English, we say sensing, but it's much more than sensing. This is a psychological, emotional thing, sensing. Or contact, rather. Phassa, contact, yeah? We talk a lot about contact when we studied the 5 aggregates. So because of contact, because of the way the sense faculty, sense object, consciousness arise, there's a triangle, there is contact, feeling arises, because of feeling, craving arises. That's how desire arises. Then, next Buddha asks, and what bhikshus is the diversity of sensual desire? What are different kinds? Okay, remember, there's a third thing, the diversity. One is the sensual desire in visual forms, right? So we can feel desire for something we see. Another is the sensual desire in sounds. Some of us like certain sounds. Another is the sensual desire in smells. We like certain smells, right? Go down now, a bit more, yeah. Okay, then Another is the sensual desire in taste, that we get attached to certain tastes. Another is a sensual desire in touch. We like certain kinds of feelings, right? Some of us like cool weather, warm weather, or when someone touches us, we feel good. Someone touches us, we feel repulsive, we're shocked and scared. This bhikshus is called the diversity of sensual desires, right? So sensual desires arise from through any of these 5 physical senses in this way. Okay, right now just make a note here. The kamo here, K, is to be italicized. Make a note here. Let me just circle it. 4.2. Okay, so now next, and what is the result? And what bhikshus? Here, bhikshu means the meditator, the audience. Although it means monks, it refers to the audience. And what bhikshus is the result of sensual desire? Vipako. Bhikshus desiring. In other words, when we have desire, one arises in this or that individual existence. We are reborn in certain states as individuals, as beings. Depending on one's good karma or bad karma, or you can translate as merits or demerits. Okay. This bhikshu is called the result of sensual desire. So we create karma, and this karma pushes on to be reborn in this state and that state. We'll find out the names of this state later on. Then the ending, 4.4. And what we choose is the cessation of sensual desires. How do we end it? The cessation of contact, passa nirodha, bhikshus, is the cessation of sensual desires. So in other words, in the case of seeing, you stop seeing, you turn your eye away, close your eyes, think something else, listen to some music or chanting or dhamma teaching, turn away. Okay? So there's no more sense contact with that source of in which the mind. You see, in modern psychology, we say the source of desire, but the real source actually is in our own mind. The external object stimulates it, so we turn away, and therefore ending the contact. That's the meaning of cessation of contact. And to do this properly, we practice. What is the practice called? It is just this Noble Eightfold Path. Right, here's the path again, right? This number 6, section 6, the path. That is the way to the cessation of sensual desires. That is to say, right view, right thought. And this is wisdom, no? And then right speech, right action, right livelihood. This is morality, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. This is concentration of wisdom, practice of the Eightfold Path. Bhikshus, when a noble disciple does know sensual desire, when he does knows the source, that is the arising of sensual desires, when he thus knows the diversity of sensual desires, when he thus knows the result of sensual desires, when he thus knows the cessation of sensual desires, when he thus knows the path to the cessation of sensual desires, that noble disciple knows this holy life of penetrating insight to the cessation of sensual desires. So this is where the name of the sutta comes from. When you understand all this, then you have penetrating wisdom, you have cut through all this ignorance, all this suffering, right? And then 4.6, the same verse is repeated, the format, remember, sensual desire, bhikshu should be known, the source, diversity, result, cessation, path should be known. So it is said, it is in this connection that it is said. Right, so you notice that you have all these cues in the oral tradition telling the audience, okay, this is the ending of this part. These are like paragraph markers. Okay, but of course, when you read, it's easier. You can see the markers. So this is one section on sensual desires. All right. Now there's a new section, part 2, and it's on feelings. So the whole template is going to be repeated, but this time the Buddha is going to explain feelings. Feelings, bhikshus, should be known, right? Feelings, Vedana. The source, that is the arising of feelings, should be known. The diversity, the result, the cessation, the path to the cessation of feeling should be known. So it is said, but in what connection is it said, right? So here the Buddha is going to explain to us the meaning of this. Cycle of, before that, 5.2. So first the Buddha explains, bhikshus, there are these three kinds of feelings. This is the most basic, pleasant feelings, unpleasant feelings, neutral feelings. Pleasant feeling is when you like it, you remember in the past, you connect with a memory of something, a nice memory you have of this present experience, so you like it. It's just like you see someone new, and this person reminds you, someone told me I look like the person's father. So then I suppose you like me then, It's because his father was nice to him. So you see, I look like the father, so I'm okay. That's their opinion, the bias, right? But suppose he looks at me and then he remembers his father was abusive, so he will get upset with me. And I say, why don't you like me? He said, because you look like my father. See? So we act like that. It sounds strange, but basically that's how we act when we like or don't like something. When we see something as pleasant or unpleasant, based on our past memories. And then we define pleasant, unpleasant before us now. We project it. And if we have no such experience, any experience of this nature in the past, then there is neutral feeling. We neither like nor dislike it. Right? It becomes boring because we can't relate to it. Anyway, these are the three basic kinds of feeling. Now we come to the cycle of feelings. 6. And what bhikshus is the source, that is the arising of feelings? How does feelings arise? Same answer, contact. Yeah? When you look at something and you focus on it, there is feeling. Okay? Contact bhikshus is the source, that's the arising of feelings. And what bhikshu is the diversity of feelings? What are the different kinds of feelings? Bhikshus, there is pleasant, sensual, or carnal feeling. This one is the bodily pleasant feeling. For example, you sit down at home, very nice weather, so you feel good, that kind of pleasant feeling. There is pleasant, non-sensual or spiritual feeling. For example, when you're meditating and you feel very peaceful, that kind of feeling. That one is non-sensual, not of the body, it's of the mind. Okay, non-sensual means of the mind, mental, spiritual, meditative. There is painful sensual feeling, right? You sit too long, you don't feel comfortable, right? And there is painful non-sensual feeling, right? Sometimes you heard a bad news and you feel sad, right? So non-sensual, painful feeling. There is neutral sensual feeling. There is neutral non-sensual feeling. Depends whether it's related to the body or to the mind. Now, notice here, very interesting. In the suttas, there are 6 kinds of feelings, right? But Abhidhamma says there are only 5, because according to Abhidhamma, these last 2, they're the same thing. Neutral means you don't experience either pleasant or painful, so it counts as 1 actually. So Abhidhamma has to do a lot with counting, like modern science. So that's how they got 5. So 5 feelings, 6 feelings, we're talking about the same thing anyway, all right? So these pictures is called the diversity of feelings, different kinds of feelings. 6.3. And what bhikshus is the result of feelings? So what happens after that when you have feelings? Bhikshus, one arises in this or that individual existence, rebirth. Individual existence means rebirth, becoming a person or being, depending on one's feelings, depending on one's good karma or bad karma, one's merits or one's demerits. This is called the result of feelings. How does this happen? Now, let's say you have a lot of happiness, you meditate, you feel joyful, your rebirth will be in a happy state in the heavens. You have a lot of negative emotion, you often get angry, then of course the rebirth will be in some subhuman state, suffering state. Now, if you focus on special kind of meditation where the feeling is neutral. There is a special realm called the asanya satta, where they have no feelings at all. Right? That also can happen. Yeah. So that is the explanation the Buddha gave on the result of feelings. Now 6.4, and what we choose is the cessation, the ending of feelings. The cessation of contact, same thing. Huh? When we turn away, we don't experience this object, then the feeling doesn't arise anymore. The cessation of contact we choose is the cessation of feelings. It is just this noble eightfold path that is the way to the cessation of feelings. That's to say, right view, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. So this is the practice. So here the format, the template repeats. Bhikshus, when the noble disciple knows thus knows feelings. When he thus knows the source of the arising of feeling, he knows the diversity, further down, the result, cessation, and path. The person is said to know this holy life of penetrating insight into the cessation of feelings. So then we understand the nature of feelings. That's how we should practice. So just imagine, whichever one you find difficulty of not understanding, read through that passage again. And here, 6.6, the Buddha repeats the template, the syllabus. Feelings, arising, diversity, result, cessation, the path should be known. So it is said, it is in this connection that this is said. So here is the cue to show this part of the teaching is finished, is ended, one set. No? Now, set 3, perception. And the paragraph number is 7. Here you can look at this 2.3 above, you see the same thing again. Perception, bhikshus, should be known. Pali word is sanya, perception. Perception is we see something and we recognize it. The source, that is the arising of perception, should be known. Right? Diversity, result, cessation, path should be known. So it is said, but in what connection is this said? So how to explain this? Bhikshus, there are these 6 kinds of perception, right? So perception of forms, perception of sounds, perception of smells, the perception of taste, the perception of touches, the perception of thoughts. Okay, notice here thoughts is included, number 6. Huh? So these are called the 6 senses, if you like. Yeah? So the mind is included here. So we recognize something we see, something we hear, something we smell, something we taste, something we touch, something we think. Now the Buddha explained in more detail the cycle of perception. Okay? 8. And what bhikshus is the source that's arising of perception? How do they arise? Same thing, contact again, right? So this is the common denominator. When there is the mind, there is the object, and then attention, there is contact. It's the source that is the arising of perception. And what we choose is the diversity of perception. What are the different kinds of perception that arise? One is the perception of visual forms, like you can recognize what you see, visual forms. Another is the perception of sounds. Another is the perception of smells. Another, the perception of taste. Another, the perception of touches. Another, the perception of thoughts. This is called the diversity of perception. So we recognize in 6 ways all these things through our memory. And what is the result of this perception? So what happens to us when we have all these perceptions? Perception, bhikshus, result in expression, vihara, I say. So it is this recognition of these 6 sense experiences that is the basis for language, expression, language. In whatever way one perceives, in that way one expresses oneself, viharati, saying, I perceive it so, right? So you, for example, let's say you are going shopping, you're in this mall, and then you see somebody, and then you tell your friend with you, you say, that person looks familiar. I think I recognize him. That's called perception, right? So the more you notice, you say, I recognize the person. That is so and so. Right? This is the meaning here. In whatever way one perceives, in that way one expresses oneself. I perceive it so. I recognize the person. That is so and so, right? This picture is the result of perception. So this is how language is expressed. All right, so next is the ending of it, the cessation of perception. Is of course the same thing, it's a cessation of contact. When you look away, the perception is gone. Here, the idea is perception can cause desire, suffering, so we don't want that. To end that, you practice the Noble Eightfold Path. That is to say, right view, right thought, right speech, and so on. Okay? So, here the Buddha repeats here you are, all this perception, you must know the arising of perception, the diversity, result, cessation or ending, and the path. If you know all this, then you are set to know the holy life of penetrating insight as the cessation of perception. Then you understand what it means to let go of getting caught up with all these perceptions. And in that way, you understand all these 6 points mentioned earlier. So it is the Buddha explained this in this way. Now we go to number 4, right? We're coming near to the ending, but it's going a bit deeper now. Mental influxes. Section 9. The mental influxes bhikshus should be known, asava. They are called influx because they flow into, through the senses, not through the 6 senses, to the mind, mental influxes. What we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, think, influence our mind, causing us desire, suffering, and so on. So the source of that is the arising should be known, diversity, result, cessation, path should be known. And here the Buddha says there are 3 kinds of mental influxes. The mental influxes of sensuality, of desire, we want this, we want that. The mental influxes of existence, bhava sava, we want to become this, we become that, we want this rebirth, that rebirth, right? And then there is the mental influxes of ignorance. It's the most profound one. This is avijja, this is the cause of suffering. This are called asava, influxes. The arhat is said to have overcome all these 3. All right? Then the Buddha goes on to explain a bit more detail the cycle of mental influxes. And what bhikshus is the source of the arising of mental influxes? Now this time is different. The Buddha says it's ignorance. Notice this last one. Ignorance, bhikshu, is the source, that is the arising of mental influxes. Because we are ignorant, we want this, we want that, we want to be reborn here, reborn there, and we don't know what the Four Noble Truths are. 10.2. Okay, let's go up a bit more. And what bhikshus is the diversity of mental influxes. What are different forms it takes? There are bhikshus, mental influxes, that lead one to the hells, the suffering states, niraya. No? Because especially people who are violent and have very negative thoughts, so they're reborn as hell beings. Well, these are not actually places that you go to, but you are reborn as someone who suffers all these violent sufferings. There are mental influxes that lead one to the animal kingdom. Here you see these animal kingdoms, the animals here and there. Okay. There are mental influxes that lead one to be reborn in the ghost realm. These are the preta. Here, this is an old word, piti. Piti, preta, they're the same word. There are mental influxes that lead one to be born in the human world. So in the human world, you're born happy, not happy, and so on. There are mental influxes that lead one to the heavenly world. These are happy states, devaloka. Right? So this bhikshus is called the diversity of mental influxes. Then these are different forms. And 10.3, the result of mental influxes. What are the results? What is the result? When one bhikshu's fallen into ignorance arises in this or that individual existence or rebirth, depending on one's good or bad karma, one's merit or demerits, right? So this is the core result of mental influxes. So karma is what makes us fall into these states. And how do we end this, right? What bhikshu is the cessation of mental influxes? The cessation of ignorance. We have to overcome ignorance. In other words, understand the Four Noble Truths. And how do you do that? By practicing the Noble Eightfold Path. So here the Eightfold Path is listed again. Okay? So now the template repeats itself. The Buddha says, okay, now that you know what are mental influxes, how they arise, the diversity, the result, the cessation, and the path, then you are said to have practiced the holy life of penetrating insight as the cessation of mental influxes. For this, then this template is repeated. Mental influxes, the source, diversity, result, cessation, path. So it is said, it is in this connection that it is said. So here is the cue again showing this. This section is complete. It's ended. Okay, now we come to the last part, I think, further down. Okay. What is it? Oh, number 5. Okay, one more to go. Karma. Karma bhikshus should be known, right? Diversity, results, cessation, and the path should be known. Now, this part is very easy, very famous. 11.2, bhikshus. Intention is karma, I say. Okay? Karma is your intention, how you think and before you act. Having intended, one creates karma through body, through speech, through the mind. Okay? So this is where, as long as you think and you keep it there, it is not expressed through speech and body, then you have kept the precept. Then through meditation, you deal with the mind so that those thoughts don't arise. That is how we train ourselves in terms of karma. Huh? And the Buddha goes into detail now, cycle of karma. 12. And what bhikshus is the source, that is the arising of karma. How does karma arise? Same thing, through contact. You see something, and then you like it, and then intention arises. Oh, I want this. I want to buy this. I want to steal this. I want to whatever. Right? And if you don't like it, you say, I want to destroy this, and so on. So that's bad karma. So that's how karma arises. Bhikshus, there are karma that would be experienced in a house, and karma that would be experienced in the animal kingdom, and karma that would be experienced in the ghost realms, karma that would be experienced in the human world, karma that we experience in the heavenly world. So this is called the diversity of karma. Right? So this is another kind of experience. Huh? Okay, let me just take a note here a bit. After this, the Buddha talks about cessation. Okay, how do we end karma? Cessation of contact. In other words, do not direct your senses to those things. See, hear, smell, taste, touch, think. All right. Now remember the 3 monkeys, right? See no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil. Actually, there are 6 monkeys if you like. So we have to tame all the 6 monkeys, so to speak, by practicing the Eightfold Path, right? So here the Buddha closes this section by repeating the template, right? So all these are the 6 things you should know about karma, and this is set in this connection. Okay? And now we come to the last section, suffering. Suffering bhikshus should be known. This is the most important, so it's put last. Suffering, what really is suffering? We should know. The arising of it, the source that is the arising of it, the diversity, the result, the cessation, and then the path, the practice itself. Now this looks familiar, right? So the Buddha goes back to the first discourse. Birth is suffering. Decay is suffering. Disease is suffering. Death is suffering. Grief lamentation, physical pain, mental pain, and despair are suffering, right? So here we know it's quite universal. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is physical suffering. Now this one is due to change. Here, later on, there are more different, the list of suffering goes longer. The older text normally you have shorter list. And then not to get what one wants is suffering, right? So this is suffering due to change in a sense. And the last one, the most important, is, in short, the 5 aggregates of clinging are suffering. The very nature of our being, body and mind, makes us feel dissatisfied. And then the Buddha concludes with the cycle of suffering further down. And what is the source that is the arising of suffering? Suffering arises from craving, wanting this, wanting that, in other words. Bhikshus is the source that is the arising of suffering. Suffering arises from craving. And what is the diversity of suffering, different kinds? There is bhikshu suffering that is excessive. Some kind of suffering very strong. There is suffering that is small, of no account, just a bit minor only, right? When our karma is good. There is suffering that fades away slowly. There is suffering that fades away quickly. Right? It comes and it goes. So these are different kinds, different levels, different, what do you call it, how we experience it. So this is called diversity of suffering. And what bhikshu is the result of suffering? Here, bhikshu, there is one who is overwhelmed by suffering, his mind overcome by suffering. He grieves, moans, laments, beats his breast, weeps, become confused. Like some people, they really get very upset, right? So if I'm Buddhist, most Buddhists are very calm. If something bad happens, someone dies, they're very calm. But some people, you find they get overcome by suffering. Or one who is overwhelmed by suffering is mind overcome by suffering, but is one who searches outside, asking, who knows a word or two to end this suffering, right? Now this can be good or bad. In other words, some people, they say, wow, okay, there's this suffering, what do I do, right? In some cases, they ask for a mantra, they cannot chant something and pray and correct this, right? But search usually means, for the wise person, they want to find out, how do I end this suffering? So here the Buddha says, the result of suffering, bhikshus, is either confusion or a search for solutions, I say. And this is very interesting, isn't it? So this is called the result of suffering. So in the next sutta, we will see how suffering actually can lead to us breaking the cycle of dependent arising. So here, and what bhikshu is a cessation, ending of suffering? Is a cessation of craving. Yeah? So we end craving, and that is what? It is the Eightfold Path. So by practicing the Eightfold Path, we end craving, we end suffering. So this is what we should know: the nature of suffering, arising, diversity, result, cessation, the path. When you understand this, then you are seeing the holy life, you're practicing the holy life of penetrating insight, that is the cessation of suffering. So the template is mentioned again, or the 6 things. The Buddha says, I have explained this to you now. This is what I mean. And then, so it is said, it is in this connection, this is said. This indeed, bhikshus, is the Dhamma exposition on penetrating insight. So there you are. This is the teaching on the 6 kinds of teachings, which we should know in 6 ways. And the first thing, you want to understand what is essential desire. It begins with the sutta begins with the most common thing we'll experience, desires. And then you understand what are feelings and what are perceptions. And then the mental influxes, a little deeper, right? and then there is karma, and there is suffering. So these are 6 main points of the teaching to reflect on. So I will end here, and we have about 15 minutes of questions. Question time.
Thank you, Brother Piya. I'll pass the session to Sister Exim for Q&A.
Thank you, Sister Wendy. Thank you, Brother Piya, for the Sutta teaching. Brother Piya, there is no question in the chat box at the moment. Yeah, any brother or sister would like to raise a question verbally?
Just wait a while.
You can unmute yourself to ask your question now.
Yes. So these teachings, they are meant, we should reflect on them. Okay, they sound so real, so simple, but sometimes the thing is we keep forgetting them. That's the reason. So we have this idea or this framework in our minds. Then as we go into the world, you begin to notice. You see something and you say, okay, I've learned this in the sutta, so I'm seeing this happening right now. So you must know what to do so that you don't get caught up with the world and then suffer in a bad way. That's how the sutta works. So sati means remembrance. You remember what to do, how to apply what you have learned. Okay? Okay, any questions?
Yes, Brother Piya, there's a question from Brother Maya Opal.
Yes, Maya.
Okay. Brother Piya, how would you define craving in very layman terms? In other words, is it just the difference of intensity? Strong desire equivalent to craving?
Oh, craving here is a sort of dhamma term referring to how we keep getting in this habit of, falling into the same situation and then suffering as a result of it. So it's not just liking something or disliking something. It's more than that. It is something habitual, something almost instinctual, if you like, animal-like even. So we got to notice this. And once you notice this, that's one way to step back. That's what the precepts do for us. The precepts telling us when to stop. The precepts reminding us, know that you're caught up with this, but there's something you can do to stop it by accepting it, by noting it. It is not good for you, it is not helping you, right? So then you say, okay, I'm going to stop doing this. So that's what precepts do. Precepts tell you, remind you to restrain yourself, to stop killing, stop stealing, stop sexual misconduct, stop lying, stop messing up your mind. Right? So craving pulls you, keeps you caught up in that cycle of bad habit causing you to suffer. So you got to notice the arising of it, as the sutta says, and different ways that it comes to you. And then remember the results, notice what happens to you. Right? And then from there you begin to let go. That's how you apply the teaching of the Nibbedhika Sutta. Know yourself, in other words. Okay?
Thank you, Brother Piya. The next question from Brother LCO.
Okay.
Is this a direct systematic teaching for enlightenment by the Buddha?
Yeah, you can take that way if you practice further. This is an overview, a general teaching, so that we can base our practice knowing where we are. We build it up that way. For us, we can see all this as a kind of like a mind's mirror, psychological mirror. We look at ourselves and say, okay, what kind of person am I? Okay, so am I handling my desires properly? Am I handling my negative emotions properly? Am I happy? Why am I not happy? Like that, you start by asking all these questions and then examining it, and then you use the sutta to help you understand those situations more clearly so you can deal with them more effectively. That means you are heading for the path. So remember, the path, there are three parts, right? The first part are the precepts, moral training. You have to learn restraint. The second part is train your mind, because the mind is there, the intention is there. So you got to deal directly with that intention so that the intention doesn't create karma through body, through action, and through speech. And then wisdom arises in you. You begin to understand better why these things happen, so you escape from this kind of negative cycle. Okay, next question.
Thank you, Brother Piya. There's no more question in the chat box at the moment.
All right.
Yeah.
Any questions or feedback from anyone? Any comment on this sutta? Especially on the karma verse. Reflect on the karma verse. Parts of this sutta may attract you. You may find certain parts of the sutta interesting. So start there. Okay? Look at it. If you like, check the Pali words and study it, and then from there you build up and understand the more difficult parts. The connected sutta, next round we'll be doing, is called the Upanisa Sutta. The Upanisa Sutta is interesting because it talks about dependent ending. You remember, we hear a lot about dependent arising, right? We almost don't hear about dependent ending. What about ending of the cycle? So that sutta talks about it. That'll be the next round, 2 weeks' time.
Brother Piya, there's a question from YB King.
Yes.
Yeah, what are the differences between asavas and kilesa?
Oh, kilesas are more like they are psychological habits that they are there that tend to keep appearing through our body, speech, and mind. Whereas these asavas, they keep you caught up through rebirth. They keep you reborn. Kilesas are what happens right now in this life itself. But they can overlap also when we talk about it, and some of the terms are similar. But they are how they act on us, all right? The asavas are the more serious one, that they go through life after life after life. They keep us in samsara. That is why the Arahat is said to have destroyed all the asavas. And in doing so, the Arahat also destroys the kilesas, defilements. Okay? A very simple example could be something like the kilesa are like dirt all over our body. And this dirt causes us to get sick. And then we suffer as a result of it. And we have this bad habit of getting caught in more kilesas, more defilements and dirt and so on. That would be asava, because this habit keeps us, we keep on doing it, not giving up the habit. All right? There is a small little dictionary called the Buddhist Dictionary, published by the Buddhist Publication Society. This dictionary is also available freely in PDF form. You can, if you forget, you can look up on the kilesa and the asava. It is explained to you there. So, and if you have other difficulties, you can message us, and we'll send you some notes regarding those points, those dhamma points. Yeah. So the Buddhist Dictionary, okay, by the Buddhist Publication Society, BPS. It's a free small book.
Thank you, Brother Piya. The next question from Brother LC.
Okay.
I see the systematic approach, but in our daily layman, this is not easy as we tend to become unsystematic and ad hoc, forgetting this and that. How are we to be focused? How are we to keep remembering the steps?
Yes. Right. this is where we use what's called daily reflection or occasional reflection. Sometimes we forget also. So, but when we are having quiet time, peaceful time, some of us, we have a daily routine. And certain times of the day, very peaceful, we just like to sit quietly, reading the newspapers. Okay, instead of reading the newspapers, we spend quiet time, like puja time, if you like. Part of puja time or part of meditation time should be reflection, review. This is another meaning of review. You review your day, you review your month, you review your year, okay? Review your life even as we age. You find that when we retire, we have a lot of time to review, but then it's too late. So if you're young, you review early, then it's like you're looking at your journey. So you plan better, your journey will be more fun and you benefit more from the journey. So this reflection means spend time when you find yourself in a peaceful place, quiet place. You don't have to do the usual things that you must do to earn a living, and you're having a holiday or you're having a break. Usually precept day is a very good day. That's what it's for, a day for practice and reflection. And then you look back, you say, okay, how did my day go today? All right. Especially when something went wrong and you realize, wow, I should have done this, but you did it. So just accept it. Don't blame anyone. Don't blame yourself. Examine what happened here, because this is your chance to learn from yourself. What happened here? First noble truth. What is this? I was angry or whatever. Okay, first noble truth. Accept it as it is. How did it arise? Reflect on this. How did it arise? How can I end it? Okay, I should have done this, I should have done that. And then, number 4, put it into practice. So you have this kind of habit of reflecting in this way, and then you find you're better prepared next time. So you don't blame anyone, you don't curse anyone, because if you do that, it's not going to be helpful. You're going to get worse. You're only reinforcing that negative habit. Here, you are your own teacher. This is called self-reliance. You counsel yourself. You reflect. So you use your meditation as this reflection. You are reinforcing this very wonderful, very wholesome habit. You can do this as part of your metta bhavana, as part of your cultivation of loving kindness. I'll be more calm. I'll be more forgiving. I will not pick on people's mistakes. Something like that. The next time someone does this sort of thing, I will not get upset. Okay, so you're telling yourself to prepare what's going to happen. So that way, it's like you're training yourself for some race or some competition, and you know what to do. When you go out on the running field, you're better prepared. Okay, so this is self-counseling during reflection time. It's a very important practice for us, especially as lay people. Yeah. So this is also part of the mental training. Okay, it's not just a precept; it's also part of mental training and the wisdom aspect also. They kind of cuts through all the 3 trainings. All right, you got a few more minutes. Couple more minutes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Brother Ryan raised his hand.
Yeah, sure. Yes, right. Yeah. You want to ask or?
Bante,
Yeah.
this teaching reflects a lot on inward looking. That means relying on ourselves.
Yes.
We recognize it. I recall Bante's teaching about Ananda and the girl who was trying very hard to seduce Ananda.
Yeah, yeah.
The Buddha himself intervened and eventually to the lady. And obviously that attraction must be very overwhelming. It's not easy to see, just close my eyes, avoid the contact and look away.
Yes, yes.
In which context would the teaching be to say, somewhere, somehow external help to intervene so that to aid
Okay,
you.
the story, I'm not sure whether it's in the sutta or the commentary. I remember the story itself is quite dramatic, because this lady is an outcast lady, and she was at the well, Apparently, she fell in love with Ananda, and the story goes that she actually used some kind of magical charm. All right, that's the story, right? But whatever it is, remember, Ananda is only a stream winner, not arahat yet. If Ananda was an arahat, no problem. If he will know exactly what's going on. He's a stream winner. In other words, he has given up ideas about the self. He's not superstitious, and he has no doubt in the teachings. But there is still desire, under control, yes, but sometimes it can be very powerful in the case of this lady, for example. So he can forget, that there is a chance of that forgetting. But in this case, of course, the story is such that the Buddha knew what's going on, and he at once intervened, right? So part of the story means that if we have the wisdom and compassion, and we notice someone's going to suffer, we should not say, "Oh, it's none of my business. It's all self-reliance. Everybody's got their own karma. So if they don't, don't have wisdom, then too bad. It's not like that. See, although the Buddha talks about self-reliance, the Buddha is telling us, you can help yourself and you must help yourself. But the Buddha didn't say you should not help others. In fact, if you look at the teachings on the precepts, there is always another line. You keep the precepts, and then you encourage others to keep the precepts, and then you praise them when they keep the precepts properly. So there is always this concern for others, parahita, thinking of the goodness of others. And this is a very important aspect we must not forget. When we're able to help others, sometimes by counseling them in a nice, gentle way, by even doing something to prevent them from suffering, right? So doing what you can to help them, something like that, then you should do it. So the Buddha did that whenever he could, and you find him doing that many times to many monks when the opportunity arises. And you see other arahats also doing that, like Sariputta. So the arahats are also very compassionate. It's the Mahayana who like to say the arahats are not compassionate. I don't know why they said that. It's a very serious wrong view. I think they should stop saying such things. And when we do meet them, if they talk like that, then we should tell them, please don't talk like that. Arahats are compassionate, right? So this is where sometimes you got to help them. I remember one lady who used to attend my sutta study those days in the Buddhist fellowship. She was not only very wise, but also very brave and very concerned. She attended another talk by a Mahayana monk, a young monk, who had a wrong view, and he said, "Oh, you know why Mahayana is great, but it is better than the Hinayana, because only Mahayana teaches the Four Noble Truth. It's not found in the Hinayana, and we know at once this is not true, is it? So this others will just keep quiet and say, "Oh, it's a manga, you better don't say anything." But this young lady, she's very brave. She's put up her hand and stood up and said, "Venerable sir, excuse me, but I think you should check the suttas. You find that the Four Noble Truths are very important in the Theravada, in the Hinayana. The teachings are there. You please check this." Now you find that this kind of standing up and telling will help this monk in many ways. Suddenly this monk will be shocked, say, "Wow, this person dares to tell me." Maybe at first pride will, make him feel very angry and so on. But then sooner or later he will think carefully and say, "Well, this is true." Or maybe his teachers will tell him, "You should not have said such things. Please check your facts." So you need to intervene when you can in this way. So in many ways, when I write my essays, this is what I have in mind. So people read it and they say, "Okay, this is what I should do, this is what I should not do." So in every little way that we can do, we should do it to help others. So do what you can, since you know the sutta, since you know the dhamma. That's the message. of the teaching. Okay, hope that is clear enough. No? All right, any more?
Brother Piya, there's one more question from
Right.
Brother Gohan Kui.
Yes, go ahead.
My observation is that the whole sutta's message can be practiced by way of atammayata, non-identification. Am I correct? Thank you.
Of course, yes, of course. Once you know the sutta, you find that many teachings we can apply to practice here. Atammayata literally means not thatness. You don't identify that's what I like, that's what I want, right? I am that. You just look at it, you say, okay, all these things are passing phenomena, they come, they go, okay? So that is an easy summary, but very deep. Atammayata is a very deep, profound teaching. There is a whole essay on that. So if you're wondering what it is, just write to us, we'll send it to you. Just say, please send me the essay on non-identification. Non-identification. Atammayata. Okay. Very good. Thank you, Brother Henkui, for mentioning that magical word. Okay. All right. Any more? Last minute.
Just all in the chat box.
Okay. Okay. Photograph time right now. Yes, right now. Right now, are you there? Okay.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm so tired.
All right.
Okay, everyone, please turn on your video.
Yes. Okay. Well, I hope you all are enjoying the weather, and also now COVID slowly slowing down. So still take good care of yourselves. Okay, smile and say Atammayata. You just smile, you say that. All right.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so no more urgent questions, huh? All right. So now we will close with a reflection. You know, when I do my yoga, I also close with this threefold reflection. You know? Once again, we've come to this point to remember the awesome things we have done today, taking the three refuges and reflecting on the 5 precepts, and also meditating a bit and listening to the Dhamma. By all these good deeds we have done, may we be well and happy, so that our mind also is clear to understand the Dhamma and reach the path in this life itself. And also, this is the time to send out your kind thoughts to others who are important to you, who are close to you, those who are not well, who are sick, or people we have difficulties with. Send your kind thoughts to them in this very wonderful time. Now, having done that, let us once again show our gratitude to the three jewels that are our refuges, to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi. Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami. Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.